My nicotine.
Your nicotine. Yeah, so you didn't actually watch the game, huh?
No.
What'd you guys do during the Super Bowl?
Like stream bones or something like that.
Bones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went out. I went to go be sociable. Just go talk to random people at the bar. I went to TGIF or TGI Fridays or whatever the hell it's called, and watched the game there and ate a steak with some taters and some cauliflowers and some broccolis. And I almost forgot I had a podcast to do. Thank God I live 5 minutes away from the bar or the restaurant. So
Or that I messaged you.
yeah, I didn't see the message. I just was like, I gotta go. So I left, and then as soon as I got home, I saw your message. Well, I saw your message when I got in the truck, and then I got home, and I was like, okay, well, I got time. It's a 5 minute drive. And then I FaceTime with my son, who's out there just being a active little shit. He's crawling. He's at his grandpa and grandma's house, and they have like 4 or 5 cats. I don't remember. And he's crawling around trying to get the gray cat, and then he gives up and he'll crawl to the couch and pull himself up, or he'll pull himself up on grandma's legs because they're watching the game. And then he's like, you know what, I want the white cat. So then he like bumps down and he starts to chase the white cat. So he's pretty active and growing every day. And it's kind of sad I don't get to see him every day because you miss shit like that. So it was good I got to FaceTime with him.
That's good.
But
Any progress on your living situation?
no, holy shit, dude. Yeah. This is. I think this is. I mean, you've toured in this area before. They call it the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia, right? Northern Virginia, most of Maryland, and DC. It is a terrible fucking area, especially right now because of the inflation. Especially now because of the rates were low. So I'm in this situation where the rates are starting to go up. Everybody's anticipating that the feds, in fact, the Federal Reserve, quit buying bonds and shit. So the banks are raising their rates. So I called the banker one day. I was like, well, what are your rates? And I said, on the website, it still says they're 2.5. And he's like, well, we're actually at 3.125. I was like, ugh. And then 2 days later, they were at 3.265. So they're going up. So this isn't fun. Anyway, needless to say, I just told my realtor, I said, look, I'm going to go to these open houses on Saturday. One was in West Virginia, one was in Maryland. I drove all the way out to West Virginia. It was a nice house. The guy, they were very nice, and it's just too far of a fucking drive. It's too far of a drive for me to go to work and come. If I'm working 5 days a week, dude, that is easily 10 hours on the road. It's 10 hours of my life I'm not getting back. So I'm not going to do that. So I looked at the place in Maryland, and it was packed. And I just told my realtor, I said, I'm going to buy that house. And she's like, oh, you like it? I was like, no, I don't like it. I don't like the house at all. And she's like, well, why? I was like, because the rates are going up every day. And I said, just make it happen. I said, just how much should I offer? I think the house was listed for $340, and she told me to bid 30 over. She said to basically say, oh, that house you have for $340, well, I'll give you $370. So she woke me up this morning. We did the paperwork, and then she texted me shortly before the Super Bowl and said, I'm sorry we didn't get it. And I was like, wow. So I checked the listing, the NMLS, and it's pending, and it is been sold for $380. And so she said she had a couple other houses on the DL, which I don't know if she can legally do. I don't know. I think you have to wait for shit to come on the market so everybody has a chance to get it, I think. I don't know. I'm not a realtor. But that house I was supposed to go see today, those people obviously didn't want us doing a showing because I wouldn't want. It's fucking Super Bowl Sunday. Don't come over to my house. I had a showing scheduled for my house. I think it was Labor Day, and Labor Day is like one of those days where I normally just don't do shit. And I
That's
don't.
my birthday weekend.
Yeah, but I mean, normally you grill. I grill Veterans Day, I grill Labor Day, I grill Memorial Day, and so I was grilling, and I had planned on having people over. They didn't show up, but like, we want to do a showing on your house. Like, no, no, it's a federal holiday, one of the few that I observe. So, no, no, thank you. But yeah, no, it's just a pain in the ass. I don't want to say it's like extremely stressful because I don't want to patronize like other events in my life that were a lot more stressful than buying a house, but it's not pleasant. You have the interest rates going up every day, and you just have people vastly outbidding each other for a fucking house. It's crazy. It is. I even went and looked at new constructions and the prices on those houses. So obviously there's like a neighborhood or some land they develop, and they're putting up houses every day. And so like say let's say you like floor plan B, you have like A, B, C, D. You're like I want a B. It's like all right, you got to buy like this house is selling tomorrow. Like I was like okay, and keep in mind that the prices change. I said oh they do. He's like, yeah, so our company sees how fast these houses go, and if they're going too fast, then they raise the price. And I was like, well, that makes sense. That makes absolute sense. And so a house that I was looking at that was floor plan B was like 398, 398, 960, and it was sold. And then 2 days later, another house floor plan B was listed for 402. So it is terrible. It is a headache. I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. Like it's not stressful. It's just mentally exhausting. It's just I don't know. It's not fun. It was a lot
Yeah,
more fun in El Paso.
we had a chunk of property with a house that popped up on the market Sunday night, and by Monday when I called her, or yeah, I don't know, the next day it was already pending.
This was where, if you don't mind me asking.
Here in Idaho.
So it's crazy in Idaho too.
Oh God, dude, fucking California's moving here.
Oh,
People are buying stuff sight unseen, just like, oh, land, I can, do this, blah, 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 blah. Don't have no idea about the fucking snow. We checked out an area last weekend, was it? And the well, we got stuck and had to get pulled by a possible neighbor. And they were talking about how someone bought this huge chunk of land up there, dropped a mobile home, and then bailed out when it started snowing. Didn't realize how snowy it got, and the mobile home now collapsed under it. And yeah,
okay, crazy.
so
What
we had some good snow up in the mountains this year.
what's the average price for I guess an average home there right now? And what was it?
Now,
Yeah, now.
375 is for the low end. 500 probably average.
Jesus, this is like
Yeah, it's pretty in California prices.
1800 square foot, roughly.
Yeah, for the small one. Yeah, for the low end.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's just amazing what it's amazing what a little bit of governance can do. Am I saying it's good governance? Am I saying bad? Like it's just amazing, right? Like you look at all these factors. You shut down the economy. You hand out checks. You pass bills that inflate the currency, and some states decide to open up, and other states decide to stay closed, and people get tired of that shit, and the people that can move, and so it drives up a market in another state on top of the fact that people probably, if people are sitting on money, right? Like a you or a me, if you saved all your checks, you got a little bit, and then you got enough money because obviously you're moving, and that's not cheap either. But it is amazing just how much shit has happened. I think the only thing that happened that the U.S. government really couldn't control was obviously supply chains because private businesses are private businesses, and other countries are other countries. So if there's some country that's like exporting stuff to us and they shut down. We can't control that. And if a private business decides to not operate in the port, we can't control that. But like as far as the currency, as far as shutting people down and keeping them from working, is forcing people to change their behaviors, like forcing some people. So it's crazy. It is something I hope that the Zoomers pay attention to, Gen Y, Gen Z, all those guys. I hope they pay attention to this. You know, people that say I can't stress this enough. Like I can relate to what you always say, like voting is a waste of time, blah 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 blah. Blah. I get it. I get it. The guy you voted for, girl you voted for, they didn't win. It's a waste of time. They're in bed together. This alone, like I already knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was this bad until I tried to buy a home. Like selling my house, it sold relatively easy. I made a profit. You know, buying a home in the DC area is fucking nuts. And I put gas in my truck. It was $4 a gallon here. There are consequences. Consequences being actions thereof another action, results of the action, consequences being good or bad, but there are actions to the way people vote. And whether I want to admit it or not, like we voted for this. We deserve the government we vote for, good and hard. I forgot who said that, but that's a very wise quote. So
Well, that's what you get for expecting to change things by voting.
I really think people are just uneducated. I think if people were more educated, more involved with politics, as in it could be their local government, it could be their state, it could be their federal, if they were really involved in government and not relying on fake news, not relying on misinformation, the cliche, the clicks, the fucking all the fancy buzzwords. If they went out and did their own research, if they knew how the government worked, because you could probably poll 100 Americans, and I doubt a majority of them know anything about anything. Like, ignore the platforms. Just like how does a bill pass? How does a bill become a law? What is pork barreling? What is gerrymandering? Like stuff that you learn or should have learned at least in high school. Like they don't understand this stuff, and they're allowed to vote, and they vote, and that's why I think we should have a new poll tax. I think we should raise the voting age to 21. We rate the drinking age has been 21 for a long time in a lot of states. In order to purchase tobacco now or vapes, you have to be 21, right? I don't know. What is it in Idaho? 21?
No, I think I guess tobacco's now 21 nationally. I don't know.
So let's
21 was so fucking long ago, dude. So
but they passed it in Texas, almost like a little bit over a year ago. I remember seeing those signs like starting this day you have to be 21. So you come into the store, you're 19, you buy your last pack, you buy
and you should also be 20. You should also be 21 to fucking get drafted and all that shit. Which the draft is a whole other story we could talk about. I think it's bullshit, but
yeah, but I don't think people are educated. I really don't. I think everybody either follows along with the crowd or they vote emotionally, and it's like, dude, you need to vote based on, and I don't want to say common sense because that shit ain't common, but you need to vote based on policy, because printing trillions and trillions of dollars, like this is one of the things we could have controlled, and you got like you have governors and mayors that just have shitty city policy, anti-police sentiment. I know how you kind of feel about the police, but I would think that to some extent you realize that police are generally good people, right? I mean, you do have bad people in every profession, yeah.
They sign up to enforce unconstitutional laws, man.
Well, it depends on what you mean.
That's the one issue I've got with the whole Blue Lives thing. The black lives, they're born that way. Blue lives is you're volunteer. You choose that. That's a career choice. You choose to be that individual. You choose to be an authoritarian.
Well, what is That's okay. So three branches of government. Which branch of government are they in? They're in the executive branch. And the job of the executive branch is to execute the law made by the legislative branch. Like every municipality, whether it's city, state, country, they all have the three branches of government, right? So if you're mad at again, if you're mad at the president, if you're mad at the laws that like the people, one of those laws they're mad at, they're mad about ICE, they're mad about immigration. It's like we're right, but that's not the president's job. That's your senators and representatives' job. That's their job. Their job is to write the law for how many people can come in the U.S., how they get into the U.S., what are the laws with visas, illegal immigration, all that shit. So people sign up to be a cop, yes, boom, but they're enforcing the laws that were written by legislators. So I guess my next question is like, what is your beef? Like, where's the unconstitutionality in that?
Gun confiscations, things like that. It's all bullshit, dude. A lot of the laws are really unconstitutional and should be challenged. But really, the whole system needs to be rebooted and go back to this is the Constitution, this is what we're living under, and that is it. Everything else is just to support and defend the nation so that people can live their lives without interference.
Right.
That's it.
I agree.
And people complain about capitalism and this and that. One thing I have some complaints about it as well. The corporatism, the whole corporate veil and things like that, where if I say, yeah, an individual can make a company as big as they want, but they are ultimately responsible for everything that company does. So they can grow it to be, have like an Amazon. However, if their truck driver goes out and kills a pedestrian, that CEO is responsible. So if they want to contract with another company that has just truck drivers and that guy, that owner just has his fleet of trucks that he can manage and he knows the drivers, he knows they're all drive safe, that's the kind of thing. But the way it is now, you've got these CEOs just hoarding money and doing shady shit and getting away with it. Oh, this happened in this other department. Well, we close that department down, and they get off scot-free. So that's the issue I've got with it. And I say, yeah, go ahead, be an Amazon, be a Google if you want, but you're responsible for what your lowest peon employee does. And if it's too big for you to manage, that's where you want to stop. Is your choice. If you grow it that big, it's not your fucking fault.
It is,
or you can't use the excuse that it's too big, it's not my fault. No, it's your fault for going that big where you can't manage those things.
It's kind of like that, but okay, so similar model like the military. You have a bunch of soldiers, and then in charge of those soldiers, you have a bunch of non-commissioned officers, and then you have like a couple officers in charge of everybody. And then it goes up the chain, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you're talking like Congress, right? Talking president. You're a commanding officer of a unit. You have a unit of 150 soldiers. Your soldier goes out and gets a DUI. Is that your fault? Your soldier rapes somebody. Is that your fault? Like at some point, right? Everything is. I mean, you'll get yelled at. You should get yelled at, right? Did you stress the importance of safe, driving and not drinking? And did you stress the importance of keeping your dick in your pants and your hands to yourself and consent? Yes, but at the end of the day, everybody makes conscious decisions, and sometimes there are things that happen that you have no control, and that person had no. Like if you got in a truck accident, like maybe the weather was bad, but like you can't really place the onus of a particular event on the person way in charge, right? Like you have worker bees, then you have immediate supervisors, then you have like mid-level supervisors, then you have like head supervisors, and then you have like CEOs.
That's what I'm saying though. If you get that fucking big, you're still responsible. You can grow your company as big as you fucking want, but that's it.
When you say responsible, like how responsible? So you're you manage a fleet of trucks. Maybe you have 10 trucks. You start off with 10 trucks. That's how much the bank gave you. You hire right now it's your business. It's a personally owned business, and now you're screening your 10 people, and all of a sudden you realize, like, dude, I got something here. Like, there is a shortage in truckers. I turn around, I made a profit this year of like $2 million. I can roll that back into the company, or I can go buy a yacht. Well, you realize if you buy the yacht, you get the immediate gratification, you reap your rewards, it's totally your money. But if you invest the money into your company, you can grow your company, right? And the incentive is to grow your company. It is your company. So you invest the money, you get 20 trucks now. So now you have 20 trucks on the road, and now you have 20 people. So now you have to make sure that you pay these 20 people, and you have to make sure that make sure these 20 people stay trained, and they have their hazmat certs, and they have their DOT certs, and whatever. It becomes a lot for a person. So you got to hire people to do shit for you. And then at some point you make more money. And what are you doing with that money? Like, at some point, yes, you're going to make a bed of cash and lay on it and enjoy yourself, but that's the perk of like capitalism. It causes people to be, more vested in their own venture. It's their money. They win, they lose. It's all on their hard work. At some point, I think everybody wants to do that. Everybody would like to make a business to where they don't even have to fucking work. Like, somebody else, they're paying someone else to work for them and making more money doing that. Like, I don't understand like how responsible all of a sudden 10 years down the road your trucking company has, like 500 trucks in your fleet, and you have 500 drivers on your payroll, and you've got X amount of HR, X amount of, like X amount of, now you have mechanics. Now you have mechanics on your payroll. Now you have this, and one of your mechanics goes out and he says a bunch of racial shit because he got drunk and saw a bunch of black people. So now he's saying a bunch
That's exactly what I'm saying, dude. You can grow your business big as you want, but you're responsible for it.
How responsible are you? That's what I'm asking you.
If your guy is on the job and fucks somebody's stuff, you personally are responsible.
So if that mechanic murdered
when
somebody,
when they sue the company, if it's something they can sue the company for, it's you being sued.
but if that guy killed somebody, should you go to jail for it?
What was he doing on company time with company equipment, under the guise of the company coming in?
Maybe. Does it matter?
Well, then maybe. I mean, you wouldn't go to jail, but you could be not criminally, but
okay,
financially liable.
So you're not a big company. It's just you and me. And I said, hey, can I borrow one of your guns to go to the range? And I go to the theater and I kill 20 people. Should you go to jail for that?
Am I and as a company? Well,
No,
yeah, actually, very possibly.
You should.
I mean, I don't think you should, but if I give you a gun, no questions, you're a prohibited individual.
Well, you don't know that.
You don't have your own guns.
You just know we're friends, and we've been friends for a long time, and you know that.
Yeah, I don't give my guns to friends.
Okay,
but
I mean, I'm just saying, at what point is the individual responsible for their actions?
We're not okay. First of all, we're not talking about like individuals loaning guns. We're talking about companies. We're talking about corporate malfeasance. And if a corporation does shady shit and gets busted, like the banks, say the banks, nobody got prosecuted in all of that banking bullshit that happened a few years ago. They walked away with that too big to fail money and are laughing at all of us.
You know why, though, right?
Because it's bullshit.
It started off with legislation. In fact, I remember when it happened, and then I remember reading not too long ago when Andrew Cuomo got in trouble. Andrew Cuomo was one of those people pushing that legislation. The legislation was basically everybody wanted, it was like based on equality, right? Or equity, equity. A lot of people felt like the American dream should be the American dream for everybody, not just for white people. Right? It always starts under the guise of equity. And so they passed legislation to allow banks, private companies, to make loans, right? So I forget what the committee is. There's that federal committee. But anyway, the banks normally, they would take your credit score, all this information that you have, and put it into a formula, and it would see whether or not you could afford the house that you're trying to get, right? And it would rank you from no risk to very high risk. And basically they said drop the high risk, like let's say banks would lend you.
They're saying that the formula was racist and it wasn't.
Well, right, yeah. So they were saying, okay, raise instead of no risk and low risk and moderate risk, go all the way up to high risk. You don't have to go to very high risk, but go to high risk. So these banks started loaning out money because in the bill that was written, those loans were backed by the federal government. This was done by legislation. So those notes were given to people in risks that shouldn't have been getting them because they were backed by the federal government. So when that shit's law, it's not illegal. It's highly fucking immoral. Like there's no way that, someone who has a 600 credit score and makes $40,000 a year can afford a $200,000 house. Like cuz there's a lot of things that go into a house payment, right? It's not just the principal and the insurance. You have property tax, right? You have insurance. And so now all of a sudden, the government's in the housing business, just like they've been in the student loan business. And what do you think happened to housing prices? They skyrocketed, right? Because now people that are normally not getting loans for houses can get a loan for a house. And so one of the things that happens is, okay, you make your first fucking year of house payments, but then your property tax goes up because more houses are selling. There's more demand, so the supply is kind of
No,
constrained.
you don't have to explain economics to me. I understand how that works and I understand what happened.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is the shady shit the banks did, where they were going out and like saying, "Hey, you can get a loan," fully knowing that this person couldn't. They were actively engaging in predatory lending.
I
That is
agree,
what it is.
but
And they
legal
walked away,
continue. Yes.
without any, they not without any charges and with big giant bonuses that the federal government handed the banks because they're too big to fail.
That's the problem. That's the obviously like there's nothing I can do about the legislation, but that's the problem I have there is that those people got bailed out, and because they got bailed out, they turn around and did they reinvest the money and do this? No, they just gave their CEOs bonuses. That's kind of bullshit because I gave the guy, you gave the guy, your wife, anybody paying taxes. Did we get richer? No, we got fucked. Because we vote for these fucking clowns. Like people don't hold their. You know who voted on that? I guarantee you, Jerry Nadler voted on that. I guarantee you, Nancy Pelosi voted on that. There's a lot of people that are still in office today that probably voted to put that shit through. So, did the banks themselves doing predatory lending? I mean, I don't like that term because it has a different connotation, right? But they were just doing what they were allowed to do by the federal government. And the only job of the bank is to make money. How much money? More money. Doesn't matter. Like I'm sure if you checked your mailbox, in a month you might have like 5 or 6 pre-approvals for credit cards from banks. Some of them you don't even know. But that's what they try to do. They try to make money. How do they make money? They make loans, right? That's whether it's a credit card, a house, a car. That's how they make money. Um, but yeah, banks. It's just a terrible situation, man. It was really. I don't know if it's going to go that far, but this is nuts. How much is gas up there?
Like 360, 370.
What was it last year?
Last year, this time about 320, something like that.
Oh, yours didn't go up that
Earlier,
much.
earlier it was like 270, 280 when we moved out here. That was a few years ago.
Well, that was a few years ago. I don't know what the gas was here. I just know when Trump left office, I think gas was at like 220 at the particular gas station I went to. When I still had a Twitter, I made a thing on there. A little. This is what it was on this day. This is what the interest rates are. This is, and now I think it is like before I left El Paso, which was December, so it wasn't even a year. Gas was like 340. Yeah. So yeah, but I think they should. I think they should. You have to get 80% on this test. They ask you 20 questions, which means you have to get what 16 right, 16 out of 20, and 10 of the questions are based on the roles of the government, and it's multiple guess test, and then the other 10 questions are based on like particular candidates. So like if it's the general election, it's going to be based on the presidential candidates, um, maybe senator race in your state. Like you have to have like some kind of knowledge of whose platform is what, you know. I don't know. Or maybe we just we write a law to where you can't run as a party, because I feel like too many people vote for a party and not policy. Like I feel like people treat parties like football teams. Everybody has a football team, and everybody wants their football team to win. And if it's not football, it's basketball. If it's not basketball, it's baseball. If it's not baseball, it's a particular sports player. You know, maybe if you like tennis or you like something. You know, I feel like we should get rid of parties. So you have two people running. And the cool thing is, if we get rid of parties, then your people would come into play, right? Because they're just people now. They're not parties, right? So independents and libertarians, they'd get the parlay. They'd get to get up on stage, because now there's no restrictions based on party, and so people actually have to shut the fuck up. And now they're just going to listen, or they're going to vote for you based on like how attractive you are, or whatever. You're a woman of color, or you're a white man, or something. I don't know, dude. Like I think that's one of the biggest problems is people vote for party and not policy, and people just don't know how the fucking government runs. So everything is Trump's fault. Everything is Biden's fault, and everything's Obama's fault. Everything's Bush's fault. When in reality, it kind of is, but it really isn't. Kind of is, really isn't. But yeah, dude. Good luck. Good luck house hunting, brother.
That's property hunting.
Oh.
That's the thing, though. That's one thing. Up here, a lot of places sell without MLS. They just like, you got to know somebody, for sale by owner kind of thing, because they don't want to sell to outsiders. They want someone who's going to come in, work the land,
Mm-hmm. Not like put a housing development there.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. I don't know what the going rate on land is over there.
Yeah. It's still expensive, but they'll find something.
So what else is going on?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
See that video I sent you with Joe Rogan?
Which one?
Well, the one guy coming out to defend him.
Oh, the MMA guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, something.
I don't know. Like, what's your take on that? Like, should you be able to say the N-word if we're talking about rap lyrics? Can we say the N-word?
If you're like singing the rap lyrics, I would say sure, but I wouldn't make a habit of it.
Okay, what about a movie? Let's say you wrote a movie and the movie's scripted in like the 1800s or something like that. Can you use the N-word in the movie?
I mean, like if you're making the movie or making it or redoing a movie.
Well, you're doing a movie and you're writing the script for the movie, and there's a slave owner and he's addressing the slaves. Should he call them N-words? And you're a white director.
If it's period accuracy, being authentic, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that, personally. But
okay, personally, so you're walking down the street, you're at the store, and like a small store, and there's a black guy outside, and there's a white guy talking to him, and he calls him an N-word. Are you getting upset about that?
yeah.
Okay. What if a black guy calls a black guy an N-word? Are you upset
No.
about that? No.
I'm not getting upset at anybody for any words.
Okay.
I've gotten called all sorts of shit, and it doesn't fucking matter. The whole sticks and stones thing. I think people these days, this is something I was talking about with my wife today. People are looking for any possible reason to be offended, to find some microaggressions to pounce on, to what I believe is to validate their just general feeling of disgust with the world, and they're blaming the wrong people. They're trusting their government too much, and blaming that disgust with the world on Crayola, because the black crayon says Negro or Negro, however it's pronounced.
Hmm.
That kind of shit. So I mean, fuck everybody, dude. I give no fucks. I mean, I'm not going to go out of my way to offend somebody in the sense that I'm, using um, particular words or things like that deliberately to incite. But I'm also not going to go out of my way, you know, to change and switch to the white person thumbs up or a brown person thumbs up instead of the default yellow that's right fucking there at the top of my fucking emoji list.
I call it Simpsons yellow, but yeah.
Simpsons yellow. What? Yeah. Just fuck everybody. If you get offended by that, you're too much of a pussy and panty weight that I don't want to fucking deal with you anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I That's something I always wanted to talk to somebody about. So you're chatting with somebody and they send you an emoji, and they went out of their way to make a black emoji or a white emoji. Like, does that change the way you think about that person? Even though you've never had that discussion before.
I've never had that discussion before.
No, with that person. But I'm saying, like, you've never had the race discussion. You never care to like understand how they feel. Are they pro Antifa or pro BLM or whatever their political stance is? But all of a sudden you're like, yeah, so we'll meet up at the park and we'll go shoot guns at 12, and they send you like a black high five or a white high five. Does that get your brain thinking or what?
Or are they a black person using the black hand or whatever?
Anybody using anything, does it leave your mind to wonder?
No.
You don't think like you said, like you had to go out of your way to make a white emoji, to make a black emoji, right?
No, just like the people who wear masks now. I don't look at somebody wearing a mask and fucking sheep, blah blah blah. Like some people do. Like, why do you have to wear a mask? You don't have to wear a mask here. Blah 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 blah.
People do that. You've seen people do that.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. And it's like, fuck, man. That's what people should be doing. The ones who may be immunocompromised, wear your fucking mask. Take your own precautions, and don't force it on me.
Mhm.
But you acting like a dickhead and um, that kind of shit. Fuck, man. That's the hokey bullshit.
Right. Yeah. I didn't think of it that way. That's actually a pretty good way of looking at it. Like, I I I thought about it. Like, if I see somebody and they send me like a black or a white hand, because I've seen it both ways. I just kind of think like you really went out of your way to do that. And I've never really paid attention to a white person making a black hand or a black person making a white hand. I'm sure that I don't know. I just thought it was a little pretentious. I don't care which way it is. It's like, why can't we just have yellow Simpson emojis? I think the Simpsons were, you know, for the longest time apolitical, but yeah, I don't know. So what'd your wife think? I'm actually interested. Like, did she have a take on it? Do you want to share or no?
She just kind of agreed.
Mm.
But yeah, that's kind of what it boils down to. People look for these things so that they can justify their general disgust at the world. It gives they have no purpose other than to
Mm.
whatever. So
Right. There's no aspirations to get a better job or to move up the chain or start a
because
bit.
flipping burgers has to be a living wage now,
Well,
kind of
yeah.
shit.
I mean, and they could be doing anything. They could be working at the New York Times for all I know. But those people just seem not to have productive means of focusing their brain waves, right? So we're going to focus on canceling you because we found a video 10 years ago where you were at a DMX concert and you were singing the lyrics to his song and you said the N word.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's
why?
it's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And the people who whine about that are fucking stupid.
Yeah. So people in your area, again, I live in a bubble. actually out loud voice their
have, yes.
distaste in people wearing masks in public?
I have seen it, yes.
I've only seen it the other way. I've seen it where I'm not
I've
wearing a
seen that
mask,
too.
but I have never seen, like, in private. I'll tell the woman, I'll be like, hey, like, I was like, we're going into Walmart, and I'm not wearing a mask because I don't have to, and I go into Walmart and I don't wear a mask, and people will look at you, and they want to say something. It's like, what are you gonna say? Say something. I've had checking into this hotel, the lady made me put my mask on to get into the lobby because she had the doors locked, wouldn't let me in. And then the state dropped the mask mandate. I don't know, or the county or whoever's in charge of that dropped it like last week. She still wears her mask. I see her. I don't wear a mask, and we're Gucci. But no, I just, dude, it's theater. That mask
It
don't do
is.
that mask don't do shit anyway.
I know, and it's been publicized that it is all theater.
Yeah. But I don't know, dude. I am one of the ilk where I think that if there is a word we are magically not going, like, nobody can use the word. Nobody. I don't think anybody should say, if we decide that the N word is so bad and people are just suffering, like people that were never slaves are suffering at the hands of people who never had slaves due to a single fucking word, then nobody can use it. Kind of like that parent thing. You have two kids, they're fighting over something, and you're like, fine, then neither one of you can have it. That's it. Oh, but nope, that's it. Nobody gets to play with the red truck. That's kind of how I feel. Do I feel like maybe the word could be disrespectful? Sure, but I mean, there's other words in the English language to express your disrespect towards somebody. Again, you're using a word that had a connotation from like the 1600s to the late 1800s, like in one sense, and then from the late 1800s up until the Civil Rights Act, and still to this day. But it's like you're talking about a word that people are using that really doesn't mean anything. Like, oh well, he's calling me a slave. Okay, were you a slave? Did he ever own slaves? Fucking move on, dude. Move on, Joe. Get on with your life. Like, if he called you a stupid motherfucker or something, like, wouldn't that upset you too? Well, not as much. What do you mean not as much? You were never a slave. You know, are you a stupid motherfucker? That's how I look at it. Like, let's just, nobody can use the fucking word, right? Just get rid of the word. Just get rid of it. Like, quit talking about it. It's a fucking word.
What gets me is the whole, like, oh, they're talking like, they're black, so that means, they're what should we call it? I don't remember. You know what word I'm talking about?
They're talking like ebonics?
Anything. You got to pause one more second. Sorry.
Oh, so you're saying like
Appropriation. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, appropriation. Okay,
So
what?
like that one. What's her name? She's an Asian comedian slash actress. Um, Aquafina, I think.
Okay, that name does ring a bell, yeah.
And she's been getting piled on because she's uses the African American vernacular English. And she's like, "Hey, I fucking grew up. This is what I listened to. This is what I grew up with. I grew up watching TV and so on. This is it." And people are attacking her because of that.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of a stereotype too, to assume that a particular way that the English language is spoken is black speak, right? Not all
It is
black.
what it is, man.
Like, why aren't we canceling the cancelers? Like, oh, so you're saying that all black people talk like this? Like, how about it? How about it's a cultural thing, right? So if you were if
It's
you
just
happen
it's
go,
they did a whole, I don't know, what is it, some Ivy League type individual, and decided that this is an actual language, and by using it, if you use it without being that type of individual, then you are appropriating it.
so what happens if you're actually growing up in the inner city and you're not black? Let's say you're Hispanic or white, because they do live in inner cities, right?
Hmm.
And you eat the same food and you listen to the same music and you talk the same way because you guys live in an area and it's like it's a community slash culture thing. Can you not, like, I mean, do people realize how fucking ignorant they're coming off saying this shit right here? It's just it took me a few years to like realize that, but as soon as I realized it, I was like, oh well, shit, this is not a race thing. That shit's a culture thing. If my mother,
And that's the problem. You're thinking logically and rationally about the situation, and not just reacting emotionally because you're so oppressed.
mhm. It's funny. I think the people that are the most oppressed in this country are because you know what? I think there's a lot of truth to what you said earlier. What you said, like, there's a lot of bored people, like, no aspirations, no goals, maybe like somewhat low on the IQ chart, maybe. But there are some people that have like they have that conviction that they are behind the eight ball because of their race. And so there is I can't give a number, but I've talked to some of them and they really think, well, we're more likely to get pulled over, and we're blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, well, here's a statement you're making. Like, okay, so why are you more likely to get pulled over? Okay, well, how often does that result in people dying? How often are white people pulled over? Why are they pulled over? I saw an interesting study. I think it was Florida had was like it's like the Florida has a version of the FBI, right? Every state has a version of like the FBI, like the state FBI, I guess. You have Texas. I think it's the Texas Bureau of Investigation. I forgot what the Florida one is, but they released some data from like 2017 on like traffic stops. And what I thought was interesting was that a majority of the people that get pulled over by the police are black by percentage. Okay, so you look at the state of Florida, most of the people in Florida are white or Latino or Hispanic, whatever the hell they want to be called, you want to call them, what have you. But most of the people that got pulled over by percentage of population were black, right? So not the sheer, but it was like, what was the reason they got pulled over? Most of the black people that got pulled over were speeding, so they were already breaking the law. So there's a law. It's a state law. It's written by state legislators, and it's enforced by the police. And if you're breaking the law, they're going to pull you over and waste your time, take your money, take your time. So I would love to see the rest of the United States. I would love to see if that also holds true. Like, okay, you pull people over because they look they're drunk or their tail lights out or their registration's bad or what have you. But like most of the people that got pulled over were black by percentage of the race in that state, and they were pulled over because they were speeding most of the time. So I guess if anybody takes anything from this episode, just go with if you didn't vote for Joe, you're not black, even if you're speeding.
Something like that.
But yeah. Uh yep. Cover the
It's
housing.
it's
Go
it's
ahead.
stupid. No, I mean, because people want something to be offended about. People want to have a purpose, so they find something to be offended about, so they can scream and yell and get attention.
I just wish that people would try as hard, whether they legitimately think that they're being oppressed or they're just bored. I just wish they would apply that to themselves. Take yourself, make yourself physically better, make yourself mentally better. I mean, if you're watching CNN, then turn over and watch Fox for a little bit. If you're reading the Communist Manifesto, then turn that off and pick up a copy of the Federalist Papers. Read that. But again, everything is about party and nothing is about policy. Unfortunately, but and so I got to give you a heads up now. I'm moving into another hotel. Oof.
You gave me a heads up last week.
Oh, did I? Yeah. So Tuesday. So my last day here is Valentine's Day, and I don't know if they have really good internet, so we'll see. Should be able to. I have internet on my phone, so worst case scenario, I'll just set up my phone as a hotspot and use that. Hopefully, it's good. But, yeah. Anything else you want to cover, sir?
No, nothing I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to the Rams. They won the Super Bowl. Good for them. It was a good Super Bowl. It was a good game.
Was it a good game?
It was a good game. It was a back and forth game. Bengals had a chance to win it at the end, and they couldn't get a first down, and that was that. So, personally, I didn't like the play call. It was like 4th and inches, and they decided to go for a pass, and he got blitzed and he got sacked pretty much. He didn't actually get sacked. As he was getting sacked, he threw the ball away. So it was an incomplete pass, but I think they should have just ran the ball.
It was inches, just yeah.
Yeah, it was. They had the ball on 3rd and 1.
I will say this: I did see the play, the razzle dazzle. He pitched it to, I think it was the Bengals' first touchdown. They pitched it to someone who tossed it for a touchdown.
No. That was that wasn't the first. The first touchdown. That dude got
the Bengals' first touchdown.
The Bengals' first touchdown. I could have sworn was that dude face masked the defensive back. So the guy he ran like a wheel route. So he ran out and then he ran up, and the guy was covering him. And as the ball was in the air, he tugged on his face mask, and the guy flew in front of him. So he stopped and he caught the ball, and then he ran in. I think that was. I don't know, dude. You may be right. It was an exciting night. You're probably right. I do remember the touchdown though. So, yeah, it was a good one. Hopefully Joe Burrow goes back and redeems himself. He's a really good quarterback. Congratulations to Matt Stafford. I think
who got MVP?
Cooper Kupp, who caught the game-winning touchdown.
Hmm.
So he got a touch. I think he caught the first touchdown of the game. I think he did. No, that was Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham Jr. So Odell Beckham Jr. got a ring. And Ndamukong Suh got a ring. These are the notable players. Aaron Donald got a ring. Matt Stafford got a ring. Who's the other veteran? The Broncos just traded him to the Rams. Von Miller, Levon Miller, got a ring. So a lot of veterans got a ring. So it was a good game. I wasn't upset. I wanted the Bengals to win. I didn't think they were going to win, but I wanted them to win, and I thought it would be a good game. It was a good game, and Joe Burrow had a chance to win, and they didn't win. And hopefully, he comes back next year and wins. So I'm just sad that Tom Brady's retiring. Not because I like Tom Brady. I just like when he wins because it pisses people off more than it pisses me off. It's just I like seeing people mad. He's a cheater. He's a cheater. It's like, okay, he did a lot of questionable things, but whatever. We'll see. Maybe he doesn't retire. Maybe he comes back. Who knows? So,
Nah, he needs to retire.
I don't know, 7 rings. You need to get one more, dude. A ring for every finger. Thumbs aren't really fingers. But yeah. So now we have the Olympics to look forward to. I guess I haven't watched a single event. I don't care
I
to.
haven't either.
I really used to love Winter Olympics. Like when I was a kid, I used to love watching like speed skating. I forget what the big air, is that what they call it? I forget what the fuck they call them. And then when they started coming out with the snowboarding, that was interesting. The half pipe, and Shaun White went out without a medal. Very emotional. You see that guy snowboarding and he's retiring, and you're just like, wow, man, I'm fucking old. I remember when that guy first started. You know, so. But I don't know. I just feel like the Olympics is, I don't know, it doesn't have that magic it used to have. And not because I'm old and my taste change. I think it's just there's no way in hell China should have been holding the Olympics. I mean, let's ignore the COVID-19 and where it came from and how it came from there, and just you have a country that is subjecting a population to torture and sterilization and terrible working and living conditions, and yet we can just hold the Olympics there like nothing's happening. I don't know.
Well, of course.
So, but yeah. Anything else for the greater good, sir?
No, not really. Fuck the government.
That's the final word.
Oh, we're doing the final word? Yeah, taxation is theft, and fuck the government. Delete your social media.
Yeah.
Go outside.
Take
your
your
online
mask off.
friend, yeah.
Take your
Yeah,
mask
take your
off when you go outside.
And breathe. Breathe some fresh air.
Breathe some fresh air. Absolutely. Yeah, well. Once again, we failed to do the intro again, so we'll make sure to do the outro again. That's what happens when we don't do this on a regular. I forget to do the intro, but thank you everybody for tuning into the show. If you could, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, follow, share, all that stuff. Trying to grow the channel. One of these days I'll get off my ass and finish migrating everything to iTunes, and maybe we'll get more people on the YouTube. But
what about that one that offered Rogan $100 million to go over to them?
Rumble? You want to jump on Rumble?
I don't know.
Let's do it. We're going to Rumble. We'll be there in a couple months. Yeah, but with that being said, this concludes the show. I'm Jake.
I'm Drake.
It's Jake Drake Show. We'll see y'all next week.